Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 7th of June 2022. These are the stories that we'll be discussing during the course of our show. We'll begin with the derogatory remarks on Islamic leading figures that have gained notoriety within the Muslim world. And now there is a very strong reaction to the BJP spokesperson's comments on Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and of course other revered figures of Islam, and there is a swift reaction from different countries through protests, through boycotting of Indian products, and also it seems that India is in a very tough place as we speak as far as its relations with the Muslim countries are concerned, because of course of the remittances that it gets through the people that are working there. What needs to be done as far as a reaction to these derogatory remarks is concerned is going to be our first segment of the day. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns of course what is happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the different encounters that happen between the police and the residents of the Held Valley. And whereas the Indians paint a totally different picture, they pinpoint at the elements that are trying to fight for their survival as terrorists, as belonging to different factions. On the other hand, the illegally held Jammu and Kashmir's movement is getting stronger by the day. They are of course trying to get their right to self-determination, trying to decide to get that vote to decide what they want to do with the land that they live in. This is going to be our second segment. Then we'll be talking about the German Foreign Minister, Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock, who's here on an official visit, and of course we can see in these images that she's there with her Pakistani counterpart Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Saab. How important is the visit of the German Foreign Minister here in Pakistan? How important are the relations between the two countries? This is going to be our third story of the day. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the diplomatic outage that we've seen coming from Muslim countries as far as the derogatory remarks on Islam, on Islamic figures by the BJP spokespersons is concerned. More in the following report.
BJP leadership clearly expressing their venom for Indian Muslims as they consider them non-citizens, not worthy of deserving equal rights. BJP's national spokesperson's blasphemous remarks against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, have once again exposed reprehensible campaign of saffronization in India. Pakistan has condemned in the strongest possible terms the highly derogatory remarks recently made by two senior officials of India's ruling party BJP. According to a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, these totally unacceptable remarks have not only deeply hurt the sentiments of people of Pakistan but of billions of Muslims around the world. Taking to Twitter to condemn the incident, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stated that India under Modi is trampling religious freedoms and persecuting Muslims. The world should take note and severely reprimand India. Saudi Arabia has joined a host of Muslim countries including Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Iran and Pakistan who have responded harshly to the comments made by the Hindu nationalist ruling party. The world must intervene to protect Muslims in India from an impending genocide at the hands of Hindutva-inspired Hindu zealots emboldened by the BJP RSS dispension at the helm.
Now to discuss this issue, we've been joined by two guests. The first is Dr. Zulfiqar Kazmi, who is an international relations expert, and our second is Hamid al-Mashriqi, who is a regular visitor to our shows and also a wonderful guest as far as talking about international relations is concerned. Thank you to the both of you to have joined us for this segment. Let's begin with you, Dr. Zulfiqar Kazmi Saab. Nupur Sharma, Naveen Jindal, two spokespersons of the BJP. The first talks about Islam and this Islamic revered figures during a TV program in India, and Jindal in a tweet. How damaging are these remarks now for the relationship of India with the Muslim world?
Thank you so much for having me, and this question is very important because what I think that India has messed up the whole world in these perspectives, because this is not what people are expecting from India or from any other country. But what India has said, and their functionaries have given such a bad, impression to the world about India, and it's not new actually, If you see that Modi and Indian leadership have a black criminal, record. So we should expect these kind of things from them. But definitely, world is so much shocked that what they have said, and the Muslim world, they cannot accept, even no one can accept any blasphemic remarks against Prophet Muhammad or any prophet, because Muslims feels that what is going on in India, it is not only the affairs to harm the minorities, even it's against the creeds and philosophy of Islam, because the world needs at this moment that's a tolerance and unity, but India is dividing the world. And if we see that for the last many years, what they have done with other minorities as well, even with the Christians, they have burnt so many churches in India. And about Muslims, what is happening in Kashmir. So this is what we can see in peace perspectives, that India is going against peace and freedom of religion and respect of religion, and even the world has made some laws. Even if you see the United Nations, they have some very clear guidelines how people should respect the religions. But India is not accepting anything. India is going according to their own will and wish. But this wish is not desired by the world, because the world wants to see that there should be no bickerings, there should be no differences in the world. And this is what is happening in India, and I think that it could create some other problems in the world. We have seen the unity of the world. Many Muslim countries and many European countries have condemned this action. But this is very important, that we should not accept this kind of situation, what is going on in our neighboring country, being Pakistan's neighboring country, India, where already they have tension, and even they have so many problems between India and Pakistan. So this is very clear that it should not be acceptable to anyone, because world should respect the religion, respect the ethics and values of each other. So this is very important.
All right. You talk of respect for religion, respect for ethics, Dr. Zulfiqar Saab. Coming back to Hamid Khan. Hamid, respect for religion, respect for ethics, I haven't seen that in India in quite some time now, especially since 2014. Now, we all knew about the Sangh Parivar in India that used to take Pakistan for a punching bag, and their statements on Islam as a religion. But now that the BJP spokespersons are using the same language, do you feel India has crossed a red line? And if so, what are the repercussions?
Yes, thank you very much, Omar. I mean, as you know, and as we've been talking about it, that since Modi came into power, he has made it a state policy to malign, Muslims, malign, our religion, and marginalizing the Muslims of living in India. And now, if they have doing it as a state policy, and the court has not taken any action, unfortunately, I keep saying, the courts are not taking action. There is no appropriate action taken by the government. Culprits. On top of it, if anything like that would have happened, he would have done anything. He would have been lynched by so many fake cases in Muslims blaming them for cow meat and other. The first standard of India. And now the time, I'm saying that it's the time to move towards the sanctions against their human rights. This comes under the human rights. It comes under
All right. You talk of human rights, Hamid Khan. I'll refer this same question to Dr. Zulfiqar. Human rights, we know Amnesty International, we know United Nations Human Rights Council, we know Genocide Watch, and so on and so forth. There have been so many reports on the way India has been dealing with its minorities, especially the Muslims. Why such a strong reaction now? Do you feel that before that a lot of countries, a lot of societies were tolerating what India was saying, but now when they talk of Islam's most revered figure, that is the last prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the people around him, that the Muslim countries feel that this is a point of no return for India, or is it?
I think that world record, as we see that where India is placed, and unfortunately, that securities of Muslim and safety of Muslim are always a big question in India, and they have a bad record, and world knows that, and even the world has named Modi that's a Gujarat ghost. So this is what is their record, where they stand for the human rights, for religious respect. So they never have any kind of respect for humanity. So humanity is actually issue in India. Sometime we were listening that India is the largest democracy in the world. It's a secular state, but they have eliminated all that concepts of democracy and secularism as well. In secularism, everyone respects other religions, but India is out of that context now. So India is playing a role of ghost at this moment, and the policy which India is implementing in the country is not a policy which world is looking for from India, because India is involved in trade with it has a big trade industry in India, but unfortunately what is happening, they are just have a greed to grab the world, but they are not respecting the communities. So this is a big issue in India. Whatever is while talking about India is beyond even that, because India is not much visible what they are doing in small portions of society, even in small communities and small minorities. They are even what they have done with the Sikh communities. The whole 1.5 years they were on the roads and they were talking about their rights and what they did with the farmers. So this is not only a religion, but religion because it's a very fragile, aspect of life. No one could, bear any kind of disrespect, against religion. So India, is, because the Muslims are not a small minority. It's a matter of the largest minority, in India. And if they would be responding according to their, beliefs, because they think that they should be peaceful, because Islam teaches them to be peaceful. But India is instigating everywhere. So this is the matter that they are going against human rights and violating the values and violating the human dignity. So this
that
is
true.
what we are
Violation of human rights, violation of human dignity is something that has been going on since decades in India, only highlighted since Narendra Modi's BJP came into power a few years back, and then it has gone to a tangent where I feel that there is no return from. But is there, Hamid, do you feel that with all the hue and cry that and all the outrage that the Muslim countries are now pouring openly through whether it be boycott of the Indian products in different markets in the Muslim countries, whether it be open statements, official statements from the foreign ministries of these Muslim countries, something that we haven't seen before. Do you feel it is going to react, it is going to make India react and maybe change its attitude, or do you feel it's going to be business as usual in a couple of days' time?
No, it is really, it all depends how long-lasting reaction from the Muslim world will be. I believe that this reaction or these actions should be for long-term now, and Indians, boycott should last for longer time. On the other hand, especially the Arab countries and the governments of their, they should properly take action that they are having millions of Indians where foreign their country. So it is a threat to Indian workers as their work is concerned. That should not tolerate anybody who is disrespecting especially by the Gulf effective because Indian economy are not working there as well. So I think that they will take that for longer term. Yes, it will affect, but it does not change in policy. So it has to be on long-term basis. As change their tendencies, behavior. They need to change their mentality. Islam and Muslim. It's a matter now. I can take a proper Indian fascist government. Not, I never had conversation. I blame the government, their policy, and the idea which taken over the from secular. So if the properly, if there is a proper, proper product and direct to the network, making billions of dollars in electricity, there is a chance that they take some action and it will stop the future.
All right. Dr. Zulfiqar Kazmi, when it comes to other Middle Eastern countries, there hasn't been any rebuke by India, but when it comes to Pakistan or the OIC, there has been a strong reaction from the Indian side. Why is the reaction as far as Pakistan is concerned or the OIC is concerned that strong from India, and why not for the other Middle Eastern countries? Is there any particular reason for that, or do you feel that India can get away with murder when it comes to taking out statements as strong as these as far as the OIC or Pakistan is concerned?
Before addressing to this question, I would like to say that India has started this campaign, which is very shameful and hateful campaign from decades. And now India has been grabbed because now people think that it's a true face of India, which has been revealed now. So what the Gulf states and other Muslim countries should do, I think they should take a stand, and it should be very firm now. They should not compromise on this, question, because it's not a dignity of humanity only. It's a dignity of Islam and dignity of Prophet Muhammad. So they should think about that, how they could be reactive and how they should not be proactive with this kind of issues. They should stand in the name of Islam and Islamic peace perspective, because Islam is not saying that if they have done this thing, they should do any other thing in a reaction. But they can say that it is not acceptable. And about the relationship with Gulf states and other countries we have seen, their reaction is there. But it's not that kind of reaction. They should boycott the Indian, products in the market, because India is making billions of dollars from Arab countries, but because India has the largest interest in that area. So this is, I think, this is what they should do. Yes.
There's a huge number of Indian nationals that are working in all of these Middle Eastern and Arab countries as well, and they send a lot of remittances worth billions and billions of rupees. Hamid, do you feel there could be an effect on those Indian expatriates that are working in these countries and the remittances that they send? Could that be affected in the long term as far as this reaction from BJP is concerned?
Yes, definitely. I believe there will be effects like Kuwait. They are trying to form some kind of policy for the thing of, and then the very better. I believe that if the long term by other countries, on Indian on Indian people working in that must be for the longer term. That is carry on 2 days. Then it's not going to affect the step taken for the longer period. That's the main objective. And I will why it is only a matter considered Parliament as well. It should be United, since United Nations have asked is crime not done, then United Nations consider this as a crime and supported by the. So now it has become not a matter, the matter for the right, it's the matter of the as well, and it has taken under United as well.
All right. Final question from you, Dr. Zulfiqar Kazmi. US Secretary of State last week had said that India was seeing rising attacks on people and places of worship. So have other countries now also reacted to these blasphemous remarks on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the other hand, when it comes to the religious tensions in India, those are gaining heights that we've never seen before. Do you feel that the BJP government could and might change their tactics as far as the Muslims are concerned as a minority, whether it be in India or in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as a result of the outrage that is coming globally for India from different important countries of the world?
I don't think that there will be a change in India because the BJP have a very clear agenda and they believe on Hindu supremacy. And what I think that while world is seeking the inter-religious cooperation and they want to make every country, they want to see every country peaceful. But the peace could come only if the people could respect the all minorities, their religions, and their leadership. Should accept all those norms which world has set up to accept others according to their beliefs. So, but in India, because if you see that what BJP has done in past, so their record shows that they will not be able to, make any difference in future. But the world should, see that how they could, talk with India, because they should push India hard that they should come at that point where religion should be respected, minorities should be respected, and where the world peace should not be harmed. Because it's not only a matter of India and Pakistan or something, it's a matter of world peace. Because religion has a greater role in the world peace. We have seen that so many issues in the world, that's Palestine and others. But these kind of issues can burn and fuel more to their extremism everywhere. So this is very important that world should understand that how they can talk to India and give a clear message to India that in future these issues should not be repeated because these are very important. It's not only hurting the Muslim communities, it's hurting the worldwide, the religious communities as well. Because Christians, Muslims and Jews all the think that their leadership, their spiritual leadership, their prophets should be respected. But India is going against, because they want to make a supremacy of India and their Hinduism everywhere. So this is a very clear, thing to a common man and to every person in the world not doing right. And I don't think that they could learn from this, the incident. And so this is very important.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zulfiqar Kazmi. Thank you very much, Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this heinous, blasphemous incident that has come all the way from India, from two BJP spokespersons, and the reaction that the world is now seeing as a result of that. Will India recover from it? Will India understand that what it is doing is right or not? Only time will tell, and the reactions will become stronger and stronger as per the different world important countries from the Muslim world or the non-Muslim world are also concerned. So thank you very much to the both of you to have joined us and of course to have participated in a very important discussion. Let's come to our second segment, and that concerns what is happening in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. so many extrajudicial killings, so many murders, rapes, incarcerations, putting people into jail, muting voices of the journalists who are trying to raise the just and right voice for the people of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and then of course encounters, so-called encounters that happen in which they deliberately kill people and then label them as terrorists. More in the following report.
The apogee of BJP's muscular policy towards Kashmir rests on an increasingly militaristic response to the alienation in Kashmir laced with brutal reigns of arrest, torture and murder. At least 10 Kashmiris have been killed in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir since an Indian court sentenced iconic Kashmiri pro-independence leader Yasin Malik to life in prison. In Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, protesters have appeared in Srinagar and other areas to record the protest against the divisive policies being pursued by the Hindutva BJP and RSS, fearing possible genocide of Kashmiri Muslims. According to the Kashmir Media Service, the posters read, Indian Hindutva rulers targeting Kashmiri youths, violating international laws by denying handover of martyr bodies to their families, as the current Indian anti-Kashmir policy is big challenge and threat to peace in the region. Cheng Zijong, visiting professor of Southwest University of Political Science and Law, issued a statement in Beijing that Indian authorities have been using state terrorism to exercise bloody rule over Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and therefore international community should unanimously condemn it. India's state terrorism in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir has seriously violated fundamental human rights of Kashmiri people and undermined regional peace and stability. This draconian state of affairs have exposed the extremist and terrorist face of Hindutva of Narendra Modi regime, and India will not succeed in suppressing Kashmiri struggle for the right to self-determination with such atrocious tactics.
Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Saab, Defence Analyst, joins us online. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us. Sir, these atrocities, we've talked about in so many shows with you about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, about what India is perpetrating. And then what I'd like to also ask your point of view is, then, blaming these people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as terrorists and then killing them in fake encounters. This is a practice that has been going on since quite some time. What do you foresee as far as India's attitude is concerned? Is it going to become stronger with time, or do you feel what has happened now with the comments taken out by the BJP spokespersons will make India realize that it needs to take a break from what it is perpetrating in the Hell Valley?
Okay, first of all, obviously, what is happening in Kashmir is clearly a reaction to the Indian actions which were taken in August 2019, where people talk about the abrogation of Article 370, but I call this the abrogation of their statehood. In addition to that, of course, they are all of them across the political divide. They are struggling against the abrogation of Article 35A and the sale of their properties to non-Kashmiris, which I think are trying to settle there on behest of the Indian government, so that they can change the demography of Kashmir. They are also protesting against the delimitation exercise, and the efforts again to give more political representations to non-Muslims in the Kashmiris than the Kashmiris. So I think it's a combination of all these factors uh, which which is seen in Kashmir. It is again the ongoing frustration uh, with the Indian efforts to keep Kashmir as the biggest jail in the world with 600,000 troops. It is again, the expression of anger of the Kashmiri for their allegations and the longest internet shutdowns in world history. So I think it's a combination of all that, and to call it terrorism is again, closing eyes to the reality.
All right. What I'd like to ask from you is, when they kill these people who are trying to fight for their rights and then brand them as terrorists and point the finger at Pakistan and proscribed organizations, don't you feel that the common man in India knows and understands that all of this is but a blatant lie?
I think the common men in India, uh, I think they do know it. But if you divide, the people, then there is this minorities of India, which comprises nearly half the population of India. They are the ones they realize it. But others, when you talk of the Hindu population of India, again, within that, I think a small minority, and I would say not more than probably 3 to 4 million Hindus who are the followers of the Hindutva, who are the BJP followers, and the BJP voters, and Hindus of the upper caste. These are the people, who have shut their eyes to whatever is happening in India, whether it is in Kashmir or elsewhere. We now know that presently, I think a total of 18 countries, they have very strongly protested to India on the blasphemous statement and the insult to Islam. I think the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, which is a bipartisan US federal government commission and not an NGO, they need to take a notice of this. And they are the ones, to censor India. That is an organization which is actually appointed by the President of the United States, and it has members both from the Democrats and the Republicans. So I think it's not only the OIC who should be informing them; they should themselves take suo moto notice of whatever is happening in Kashmir and also across India, to stop, denying the minorities their rights, and particularly their religious freedom. So I think it should now become actually a foreign policy issue for all the OIC countries to take with the United States. And we are aware, that those 18 countries, out of them, most of them have already started the boycott of Indian products. And I think that is the right decision to take. And unless and until, economic pressures are applied on India, their behavior is not going to change. So I think everyone needs to make efforts for that.
All right. Raza Khan Saab, you talked about economic sanctions. Do you feel that is a possibility? Could that happen? We've seen India perpetrating so many abuses in the past, but nothing has happened economically.
You see, as I said, it has already started. And you have seen, I think Qatar was the first country previously also, and this time also. And it is there on the social media where in big departmental stores, the Indian goods, they were covered with cloths with Arabic inscriptions written that we do not accept insults to our religion. And so similarly, I think this needs to be done in a coordinated matter by the OIC Secretariat. And I think, well, it is possible that an economic boycott at a bigger scale actually starts taking place. And if the Indian diaspora in the Muslim countries and in the Middle East, particularly the non-Muslims, Indians, if they start feeling the pressure, of reactions by the Muslims in the affluent Middle Eastern countries where they're working, they in turn will most certainly apply, their pressures on their governments, because they're all rich Indians and NRIs, and it is a matter of concern for them, although they're outside India, and whatever is happening in India is now going to affect their businesses. So I think that way these Muslim countries, the Middle Eastern countries, and others, they can play a vital role in this, in taking such economic measures to pressurize India to change their policies.
Makes me talk about illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, because this is the main issue, what is happening, and these blasphemous remarks by the Indian BJP spokespersons is something new. But what is not new is what is happening in Kashmir Valley. Do you feel that as a result of this reaction that has come from the Muslim world and from the West as well, as far as these blasphemous comments are concerned, that the attention of the world will also now go towards Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
Absolutely. I think let me share with you uh, what the former Indian Raw chief said in one of the interview, that he said that previously, whatever used to happen in Kashmir, the Muslims in the mainlands, they were not affected by that, and vice versa. But he himself said that that has actually changed, and now there are linkages, very close linkages between what happens in mainland India and Kashmir, and vice versa. So it is most certainly going to affect that. Kashmir has now actually become a much bigger issue inside India, because there is affinity, not only religious affinity between the people of Kashmir and the rest of Indian Muslims, but also all other minorities who feel that their rights are being denied to them. The Kashmiri's rights are being denied to them, and the Indian government is also denying their rights to them. So it is not only the Indian Muslims, but I believe it is also the other Indian minorities whose sympathies are now growing, increasingly with the people of Kashmir, which I think is some kind of a positive development.
Raza Khan Sahab, when you push anybody to a certain limit, there's a time when the bubble bursts, and there's a very strong reaction to what happens, what has been happening. Do you feel this is also going to be the case as far as Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is concerned? Now that the world's attention is focused on India and its blasphemous statements, do you feel the focus now will also come towards Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir? Do you feel India feels that pressure or not?
I think India is already feeling that pressure. It is something else that the present BJP regime is probably, disregarding this myopically for two reasons. And the first reason is that the more, criticism the Indian government gets from abroad, I think they are under the impression that it will get them more votes. So this is an unfortunate perception that exists in the present Indian government. But on the other side, I think if you look at the opposition leaders and the minorities and the saner elements within India, they know that eventually all this is neither in the interest of India nor in the interest of Indian economy, because I think these Middle Eastern countries, affluent countries, they have invested a lot of money in India, and I think they will back off from any further investment there. If you have been, to places like Dubai and in the Middle East, I think there are more Indians in Dubai than any other countries. So I think the pressure will be felt by them as well. And the NRIs, they have, as I said earlier, they have some very large businesses. They have some big investments there in these countries. And I think indirect pressure will be felt by India on that. And, if they are compelled now, to shift all their businesses, even from India to the Middle East and to other countries of the world, that will go, against the interest of economic interest of India. So I think the earlier this realization comes to India, the better it would be. And in this, let me emphasize that the Indian media has a vital role. And we are aware that some Indian media channels are not afraid to say this openly, because to them, I think the national interest of India are more important than the interest of the BJP or any other individual political entity in India.
All right, and finally, do you feel there's going to be a political repercussion within India of the political parties? Will there be, will this be used as a political gimmick by the BJP in the next polls that are going to be held?
Right now, it may be a little premature to say what is going to be the eventual outcome. Essentially, because of, as I said, the BJP has hijacked, the minds of a very large segment of the Indian population, where enmity against Muslims, whether they're their own Muslims or Kashmiri Muslims or Muslims, outside India, uh, that their minds have been hijacked, and it will probably take some time to take that back. And also, because of the very soft stance of the United States and its partners towards India for their own geopolitical reasons. But slowly and gradually, I think India would actually become a liability for them when it comes to these kinds of actions. And let's hope that India's friends, the big powers, also are in the positions to pressurize India to abstain from whatever they are doing at the moment.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Sahab, to have joined us. We have talked about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the methodology of fascism and of barbarism that is being used by the Indian forces and the Indian government there to suppress the voices of the Muslims that are working to get their right to self-determination. Let's come to our final story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the German Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, who is in Islamabad. She was received by her counterpart, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab. And of course, she is here on an official visit. It's an important one because she is visiting Pakistan under this government, and of course to highlight and to further deepen the ties between Germany and Pakistan. We should expect important statements from her. She has talked about the issue of Jammu and Kashmir as well. She has said that Germany supports United Nations humanitarian laws which also apply on the Kashmir region, and she is here to further deepen and further strengthen the relationship that exists between the brotherly countries of Germany and Pakistan. Let's hope that when she leaves Pakistan, she sets a new precedent as far as this relationship is concerned. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you tomorrow, inshallah, with new story segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe, follow the SOPs, and have a great evening. Allah Hafiz.